I'm back. Welcome back. So, how was Sunday? Where did I even start? I guess a good place to start was with the actual spawns for day 2. Honestly, it was pretty hype. It was basically a best of combination where they took pretty much some good spawns from each of the our habitats that were popping out throughout Saturday and just mixed them all together in the spawn pool. You can find Alone Miralax hanging out with Alone Executors and Togekiss and Litwix, and I can't even remember if there was any Darumaka, so it would have been a waste if there wasn't Darumaka though. And basically, like I said, just pretty much the best of every habitat. A lot of the filler Pokemon, as people were describing them, like there's no Bellsprouts, there was no Oddishes. Still had like those Bulbasaur, Charmanders, and Squirtles with the Pikachu had. I mean, hey, considering they were GoFest exclusive and they could be shiny, it probably wouldn't have been a good thing if they didn't include them. That's all good. I definitely see the pros and cons for doing it this way. Overall, considering what they did with Day 2 as a whole, I think this was a brilliant idea. But there's definitely an appeal to going after a particular theme of Pokemon each hour. And with the bonus events going on along with it, it's probably for the better, like when we had to catch grass Pokemon, that there wasn't fire water type Pokemon interrupting the mix as well. So I want to emphasize that I think it was good that they did one day the particular style they did, and the second day just having the best of the best wherever we go around and catch. And the reason they keep saying like it's probably for the best that they mixed the pools together and didn't have them for specific hours was because of the Rocket Takeover. Yeah, this is a questionable decision by some people, but I mean, in the overall narrative of GoFest, everything seemed to really add up to that being the case. Plus, personally, I love the Gold Rocket grind, so you're not going to see me complain about being able to fight more Gold Rocket leaders, get more chances to get Shadow Shinies, and maybe some good Shadow Pokemon along the way. I can see some people not being fans of the battling system, being a bit more hesitant to this, but I just think it really adds to the narrative of the event itself, and they definitely made some accommodations to make this particular event more enjoyable for those types of people. They made all the Gold Rocket grunts, leaders, and even bosses a lot easier. I think they specifically lowered the amount of damage and defense they did in half. That's just a number I'm throwing out there though, and it does feel kind of accurate. Little spoilers, but to give you a little context, I managed to beat Giovanni with a Lucario. Not even a maxed out Lucario. It was a leftover Lucario from Ultra League. Though I think I did swap some moves over to Power Up Punch before I did so. But yeah. The focus wasn't on challenge for this event. It was on accessibility, which, considering that it's GoFest, and not everyone that's taking part in GoFest is going to be a PvP battler, I'm perfectly okay with that. Plus, it makes the grind easier, because they managed to bring back probably, what, in my opinion, the best rotation of Gold Rocket Shadow Pokemon. I mean, mind you, the legendary Pokemon that they were hiding in the back would have been even more cool to grind, but in terms of what's been in the past rotations of Go Rocket Grunts, or Go Rocket Leaders, I should say, I think the Pinsir, Mawile, and Beldum is the best set that they've ever done. For one, Beldum is an amazing Pokemon in of itself. If you manage to get the community move on a Shadow Beldum, it becomes pretty much one of the best DPS things in the entire game. Let alone anything that Steel is weak to. Mawile isn't as good as Beldum, but at least has a really nice niche in Great League PvP. And I can imagine like being a Shadow Pokemon amplifying that even more so. And Pinsir's not much to talk about for now, but it does get a Mega Evolution. And as you recall from when I was discussing Mega Evolutions, it's up there when it comes to Bug-type Pokemon. Pretty much will probably be the Bug-type Pokemon you go to if you didn't catch a Heracross because you don't live in the region where Heracross spawns in. Scizor might be up there too, but it's all going to play out based on moves, and point being, Mega Pinsir is really good. But best of all, I think one of the most wonderful facts about them is that they all have amazing shinies. And thinking about it, I can't really think of a bad Shadow Shiny that we've gotten so far. But I think like this set is one of the best. Also, it's a set that I really want to grind because it's home to my first and only Shadow Shiny, that Shadow Pinsir that I got a few months back. So it would make me feel complete if I could complete the set. So that alone, all that was enough to incentivize me to just keep fighting Rocket Leaders, even after I completed the special research that they were all tied to, with the glimmer of hope of another Shadow Shiny somewhere down the lane. As for the special research itself, I really like how it's laid out. I kind of wish I didn't spoil myself on it because as I took little peeks of what the event on Sunday would be like in advance, it required me to look deeper and deeper into it in order to sway away some negative opinions I may have had about it otherwise. For example, I was reading up of how you fight the leaders with their shadow Pokemon, and you have to fight against a Shadow Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno, but you couldn't actually catch them. You just caught their lead. Without the context of the special research, I could see how that could be upsetting, especially without the context that the Rocket Leaders were going to be insanely easy even with legendary Pokemon on their side, because of all the reductions that they made to Go Rocket in general to make it more accessible. A little spoiler in the special research, but basically when you get to the part, in a lot of senses it's like a typical Giovanni research set. So eventually you get to a step where you have to fight Arlo, Sierra, and Cliff. Now mind you can fight these guys before you get up to that step, and that's why you get their lead. However, you do get these Shadow Legendary Pokemon. You just have to wait until you actually get to that step where you're specifically asked to fight the Rocket Leaders. And as you fight each individual Rocket Leader for that step, your reward for completing that particular task is the Shadow Legendary Pokemon. They probably did this way to gate people from just farming down Shadow Legendary Pokemon, but it kind of just adds to the narrative of the special research in of itself. And you may be wondering, if the leaders had legendary Pokemon, then what the heck Giovanni had? Well, take a wild guess. If you say Lugia, I won't blame you, but you're wrong. They released Shadow Mewtwo. It's not the Shadow Mewtwo that Pokemon fans may expect, but honestly, in some senses, I think it's kind of cool in its own way. Like, it looks very similar to just what they typically do with a Shadow Pokemon, where they just like put the shadowy aurora glowing behind it and the red eyes. But they also have like this little, what I would call, electric effect zoning around specifically Shadow Mewtwo. And I'm cool with that because it gives it its own individuality in this particular video game world. It doesn't have to be a copy-paste from another game. With that said, though, I do hope we kind of get the Shadow Lugia treatment from Coliseum and XD if they eventually decide to release it. I won't blame them if there's like some sort of legal hurdle to get to that point. But the fact that they were able to get the Shadow Pokemon name to use for this game in the first place really gives me a lot of hope that when they do Shadow Lugia, they're going to go all in on that design. Shadow Lugia has basically become the face of Shadow Pokemon. probably one of the most iconic Pokemon from that entire series. Granted, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was the only Pokemon that actually got a special effect or redesign, while all the others just had like Shadowy Auroras. If you think the Shadow Pokemon designs in Pokemon Go are lazy, just mind you that if you take away the red eyes, you basically have a Shadow Pokemon from the main series games, or the GameCube games. I know they're technically considered spin-offs, but in my heart they're not. Another element that I really liked out of Community Day 2 were the raids. Like I said, I didn't have the greatest luck with raiding on day 1. So in response to that, I went up to the college campus area that I used to play in all the time before, like, social distancing and all that was a major issue. And my suspicions were rewarded properly. Like, the place I played at day 1 wasn't bad, but nothing compared to where I played day 2. In case you missed it, the main reason I didn't go up there in the first place for day 1 was because I was running late, and it is like an extra 20 minutes to go up to this campus in comparison to where I actually played for day 1. And I really was missing out on the frickin' spawns for the battle hour, as is, or should I say as was. But back on the tangent of raiding, it was a lot more fun to do raids on day 2, specifically because the location was better, more gyms and Pokestops closer together. But I actually was able to run into people who were playing the game, including friends of mine. So there were periods of times that we were actually able to play together. We didn't stick around the entire time frame, mostly because Sierra was a pain in the butt for me and just popped up everywhere when I first started the game for GoFest. But when I actually got to the part of the freaking special research where I had to actually fight her in order to progress, that was when she decided to not show up anywhere. Not in any of the Pokestops. I kept checking the rocket balloon that constantly checked in, and it was always frickin' Cliff or frickin' Arlo. So probably spent like an extra... Most people probably got that done within like the first hour of the event. For me, it took like 2 or 3 hours. Specifically because Sierra just wouldn't show up. But it was all good. I was able to do some shiny hunting while I was walking between stops and checking balloons, so... In some sense, I probably wouldn't have gotten any... I wouldn't have gotten some of the best shinies of that day if Sierra wasn't a pain in the butt to find. Again, I know I just got unlucky. Unless he spiffily makes Sierra more rare because she has that Beldum. I doubt it, but now I got the conspiracy part of my brain churning. Anyways, Fireside. Back in Tangerine, yeah, I did. So it was fun to actually get to do the raids. And even when I didn't have my friends around, that area is such a popular Pokemon Go playing space that usually I could just like walk up to a raid and there would be a group of people to pop in. It was actually amazing, it's a little complicated to try to invite others to join in as well. Because there was a lot. So I'm sorry if I invited you to a raid and you got screwed out of it somehow, because there's at least a couple raids that I had to like jump out because the lobby was filling up too fast and jump back in, and I wasn't sure if that would throw anyone's invites off or not. But hey, I know a couple friends managed to get on to some raids, and I'm pretty sure we're able to get their first Dialga and other legendary Pokemon because of that. So minus the GoFest hype, that was like probably the best way to enjoy raids. I have the best of both worlds. I'm able to actually not worry about having enough people to actually complete the raid, but still be able to invite people who may not be able to play or get legendary Pokemon from raids. Either because they live in too rural of an area, or they typically don't have friends to actually go do raids with. So just being able to bring Pokemon Go to more people more than made up any money worth I might have lost from doing the raids in the first place. especially the ones that didn't quite go as well as planned. It was worth it just for the chance to give someone else a chance to get their first legendary or get a legendary they don't normally have an opportunity to get. All that said, I think that covers the main additions features for Sunday. Is basically the gimmick was all the spawns from each of the habitats were all in one place, so you didn't have to wait for particular hours to find them, and the rocket takeover. Once you got done with the special research, the world was your oyster. There wasn't really any additional tasks to worry about, on the downside of not having additional bonuses during that time frame, but that was what Saturday was for. Speaking of bonuses, there was one bonus for GoFest Sunday that I was really hyped about. Like, for a crazy guy like me, would help justify the ticket cost in of itself. Ticket holders actually got to get 2 mysterious components every time they beat a run, which made grinding for rocket leaders fantastic. And I did have a Pokeball Plus, so I could spend more time than I like to admit just fighting grunts and trying to get to the leaders over and over and over again, while not missing out completely on the shiny grind. That said, though, I did get a few shinies on that day, so I'd like to share that, and I also like to share at least what I got with the Shadow Pokemon. So give me a sec to pull up the game. Alright, with that Clam Pearl I got from Saturday, we're finally on to day 2. As I was alluding before, the big reason I was actually able to take down the shiny hunt specifically was because Sierra would not let me find her when I actually needed to find her for ages. So, as weird as it is, I think I got more shinies on Sunday than I did Saturday, but I definitely wasn't grinding as hard for shinies on that day. But as I did, the first thing I got was this fabulous Golden Sableye. It's a shiny that's been out for a while, but it's one that's always eluded me. So I'm definitely more than happy to actually finally get one of my own. It's got such a fabulous gold color. I just noticed that the gems on his body changed color too. It's a fantastic shiny. That's all I can really say. And you guys ready for the big one? I got this maybe the first 3 hours of GoFest, and there's no topping it. It's your boy, weather boosted baby shiny Gibble. Apologies in advance that IVs suck trash, but it's a shiny Gibble, so I had no intent to evolving this thing anyways, because shiny Garchomp is garbage. I think shiny Mega Garchomp is at least a good shiny, but I don't care. I already got way more Garchomps than I would ever want. That reminds me. Yeah. I have a weird history with Gibbles. I have as much trouble finding them as everyone else. But if you've been following me for a while, you know I got some pretty good Gibble/Garchomps. First, I got that frickin' lucky Hundo Gibble from a trade I did with my Con Bravo Gibble. Still technically my Con Bravo Gibble in my heart. But I was just trading some Gibbles with a friend to try to get some extra candies. And yeah, this one's lucky too. Not sure if there's a way I can show this without pulling up the area accidentally, but the IPs aren't bad. It's a 14, 15, 14, which is pretty good enough itself. And it's from a trade, so I don't think the location's that big of a deal. But the real kicker, something I forgot to bring up Saturday, mostly just because so much else going on, I actually jumped the border within the virtual game, thanks to the power of remote raid passes, to do a Gibble grade. And you're not gonna believe this. It's another frickin' hundo, so I currently have 2 lucky Gibble/Garchomps and 2 hundos of Gibble and Garchomp. It's nuts. Also, I guess I can showcase just how many Gibbles I got during Go Fest, because I haven't really transferred any of them yet. It's okay, I showcase a shiny, it can be on screen. 23 minus like at least the one that was from before. Yeah, this Gibble must have been left over. Oh, GoFest was already... The 25th feels like so long ago, so yeah. I got 22 Gibbles throughout both days of GoFest, which is probably a little disappointing of an amount for 20 hours of gameplay. But hey, I mean, like, it worked out for me, like, gives me justification to keep walking my Gibbles. Like, I've been working on making this Gibble my best buddy, just in case. Honestly, there's no reason for me to have two best buddies, because I'll always be going for the Hundo Garchomp, but just so I have an excuse to keep it out and walk in and get more candy. Plus, I can always flex this. Now that I have this shiny Gibble, I can just, whenever I need more Gibble candy, just pull it out as my buddy to flex. But that was enough of that particular tangent. Okay, just to prove that I'm not insane or lying to you all, here is my Hundo Lucky Garchomp, who's also my best buddy. Man, so much has changed since Pokemon Go came out. If you would have asked me like 5 years ago, if you asked me 5 years ago that I would actually have some Garchomp / Gibbles that had sentimental value attached to, I would have called you crazy. I was one of those people who just wasn't actually a fan of Garchomp's design. Like, I get how people would find it cool, but like, between just being mad to its design and having a little bit of a history with it that wasn't exactly positive, it kind of just affected my opinion on that. So where were we? Gibble. Glorious blue-yellow Gibble that I don't plan on evolving anytime soon, despite being water boosted. What did I get after that? As I said, I've been using the Pokeball Plus for a lot of my GoFest time, because I was putting so much focus on trying to fight Rocket Leaders and get a second chance at a Shiny Shadow. Especially considering that once this is over, I don't know when these particular Shiny Shadow Pokemon, or these Shadow Pokemon, will come back, because the Rocket Leaders had a completely different rotation than what was in GoFest. But yeah, I got my first Shiny Muck. It's kind of funny how, like, the Alolan Muck has this Kanto coloration and vice versa. This was also on the Go Plus. This is kind of where the quantity kind of takes over on the quality, because I think I already had 2 shiny Magikarps before this, and I was one of the people lucky enough to get a shiny Gyarados during the Chinese New Year event. But like, there were so few shinies floating around both days ago Fest, I was just happy to get a shiny in general, whenever I got one. Speaking of which, like, this Magikarp, I didn't get on the Plus, so I actually popped off to it when I saw it, even though I had a few already. Thankfully, I think they at least made a smart move not to reveal Magikarp Community Day until after GoFest, because I definitely wouldn't have been popping off for this Magikarp if they revealed that. Yeah, just to show how much the day passed by without any shinies, this Marowak I got at 5 p.m. when the event ended at 8 p.m. I think it's actually my second last shiny of the entire GoFest. But man, is it a good shiny to get. Freaking shiny Alolan Marowak. IVs aren't PvP great, but I think it actually has better PvP IVs than the Marowak I was using before, because that one was actually real bad. But it actually still does real good. So I'm tempted just to power up and use this one again because it's technically better, but I do think I technically have better Marowaks than even this shiny, so resource-wise, it'd probably be better to invest in one of those if I'm gonna reinvest, but cool, shiny flex, we'll see what I get with IVs when I eventually get around to trading them. If I get around to trading them, because I'm honestly not that great trading. Like, I only have one trading buddy I can constantly go to, and they probably didn't stock up on low Marowaks. Let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna pop up a different clip for this. Because this is... This story is kind of sad, actually. So I might as well get out of the way before going over my Shadow Pokemon, because that's at least halfway decent. So sometime after the Alolan Marowak, I had a couple eggs on incubators. 10-kilometer eggs. So as I was walking around, for some reason it feels like I walked a ton, but it took forever for my eggs to hatch. So my eggs hatch. The first one was a Clink, not shiny, but cool. I'll always take an opportunity to at least attempt to get the shiny Clink. The second 10-kilometer egg was a shiny Feebas. This stupid shiny... Oops, I almost transferred it. I don't hate it that badly. As I was saying, this fantastic mess of a Feebas just decided to swim, hatch out an egg. I was going for a swimming pun, but I realized it doesn't really work. Now, it's kind of cool to get a shiny out of an egg, because that is a rare occurrence in and of itself. But the reason that this Feebas in particular is a disappointment, maybe even a curse, that was my last shiny for all of GoFest. And it wasn't even a GoFest shiny, I just so happened to pick up an egg and hatch it out of it. So this stupid Feebas cursed my shiny luck for the rest of GoFest. Granted, I think I caught it like maybe 6 o'clock, so I only had 2 hours left of GoFest to get a shiny. But on the other hand, that's 2 hours of freaking GoFest to get a shiny. This GoFest, the odds were down, so it's not as shocking, but it's an unfortunate series of events that make it really easy to pin my bad luck on this stupid purple fish. And as you can see, it's not even my first shiny Feebas, so the thing with shiny Feebas is once you get one, the charm's kind of gone. And actually, one of these Feebas has already been evolved into a Myotic. So this is like the 4th freaking shiny Feebas. Freaking shiny Feebas. Enough about that. Maybe we can find some fun Shadow Pokemon to cover in the mix. So I'm going to showcase the IVs I got for each of the legendary birds from the special research. This one's a 15, that kind of looks like a 13-9. It's not great, but it's 3 stars and has perfect attack. So it's probably one of the better Moltres I'll get for a while via Shadow. Articuno's also a 3-star, but its IVs are a bit more mixed and therefore a little less impressive. It's like a 13, 14, 12. Maybe if not 11 for that HP stat. Granted, I already invested a lot in Articuno for Ultra Link, so I don't see myself touching Articuno anytime soon, so not the worst one to get. And I guess I'm just waiting to check out how the IVs of this one stack on PvP Poke. Zapdos. Also 3 stars. Luckily enough, I didn't get any like J levels or 2-star IV legendary Pokemon from the mix. this one's like a 13, 9, 14. So yeah, like the Moltres, I kind of rather, the closer I can have to having perfect attack, the less better I feel about like powering up. But then again, I mean, like if I'm using some of these for leagues, it might be better if they have lower attack. I'm a little conflicted of what's better and what's worse. The Persian I got from Giovanni sucks balls. It's a 1-star Persian. I'm gonna just leave it at that. And unfortunately, my Mewtwo probably had the worst IVs out of all my legendaries. It's only 2-star. The good news is the IV that needed to be perfect is perfect. It's a 15, 9, 11. So yeah, about as terrible as it can be while still having perfect attack. At least I can't ask for anything worse. As for the other things I got, a lot of my focus was on Dratini's, Machops, Magnemite, or I guess I count Megamites. My main focus was between Ralts, Dratini, Machop, and Larvitar. Though if I saw something like a Weedle, I might pick it up just because I feel like I have so few opportunities to get Weedle. And of course, I was like going after Arlo and Sierra a lot because I don't have the Shiny Shadow yet. And I was skipping Cliff like the plague, to be perfectly honest, because I was just so worried that if I fought Cliff even once, that would be the time I got the Shiny Shadow, and I ended up having 2 Shiny Shadow Pincers, which would be a flex in its own right, but I'd much rather actually have that particular set. And I was you may be curious why I was even worrying about Magnemite at all. There's also the point that there were some times that if I felt that I could beat a Rocket Grunt significantly faster than the other Rocket Grunts, I would just go for it to get the radar. But in addition, like, I'm kind of curious of using a Shadow Magnezone in either like Great League or Ultra League. Probably not anytime soon, because there's much more valuable things to use my Stardust on. Like perhaps maybe a dynamic Evil Aurora on top of an Evil Aurora electric effect Clone Cat. Oh yeah, I was going over why I went after Shadows I did. Machop, even though I have a Shadow Machamp already that's pretty good in IVs, it's easy to go for it because once I realized that Togekiss just plowed through any fighting type Rocket Grunt like it was nothing, I was using my Togekiss for everything I could. Same thing with the Dragon. But I don't have a Shadow Dragonite yet that I really want to use. And I don't think I picked up any IV sets that really justify dumping all that Stardust in yet, but it was nice to get the opportunities to do so. And Routes, just like I said, I already have a Shadow Gardevoir, but I feel like I can never pass up an opportunity to get a Routes. Though near like the back half of GoFest, within like the last 3 hours or so, I kind of got to a point of like, screw it. I want to make sure I get some opportunities to check shinies in person as well. So I just want to get up to my Rocket Radar as quickly as possible. So I was mostly just, if I couldn't charm it to death, I was skipping it, including routes. So there was a lot of unfortunate Machops and Dratinis that were dislocated from their homes that day. Granted, their homes suck because they work for an evil organization, but dislocated from their homes nevertheless. I've been rambling for a little bit, and I feel like there's something else I want to talk about before I officially end off this GoFest discussion. But nothing that really peeks out on my mind. I did just remember the last major thing I wanted to showcase. And that's just simply some of the more uncommon stuff that I managed to stock up on for this particular GoFest. So don't mind me as I scroll through my Pokemon and all that. For links, let me just scroll to the bottom and see if I can figure out what was the last one I actually got before Goldfest. Seems like a fair bet. So I got like about 38 Litwicks. If I can spell correctly. Got 67 Alola Marowak, which is more Alola Marowaks that I would normally be able to do in all my dreams. And despite all that, there's not one with a PvP IV set that I'm happy with. But I guess that's what trading's for. Darumaka's. Got myself not that many, because there's a lot of stuff that isn't a Darumaka that's coming up in search and all that. Yeah. Pretty sure that those first two I got before Goldfest, so safe to say like about 17 Darumakas. Kind of makes me convinced that they didn't show up at day 2 at all. Did I keep all my Durants? I think I did, but only got like 26, maybe like 24 if I count ones that I got beforehand. I think I only held on to one Durant, but I'm not 100% sure. Heat more just for the heck of it. Let's just say 15, because there's like 3 down here that aren't Heat Moors at all, and I'm pretty sure at least one of these Heat Moors I got before Goldfest. So like 14. Oh yeah, there's that Audino I got, and I almost completely forgot that I was lucky friends with someone, so we swapped the Dialgas. I mean, I was holding on to a Dialga that I caught all the way back when I was in PAX East. So even if the IVs weren't that great, like I would argue this guy would be an example of, we both at least get 3 Dialga candies out of the trade. So it just seemed like the perfect time to finally get rid of that thing. Zangoose, thanks for reminding me. I held on to, like, Zangoose was one of those regionals that I held on to the most. So I think I actually had 3 Zangoose before this, which means I got 36 Zangoose throughout the time frame. Oh yeah, I should do unknowns. That's gonna be a fun one. 89 unknowns. That's what I mean. Like, if you were running an instance, you were not gonna have issues running into these things. And I could swear there's more letters than G and O, but now that I'm actually scrolling through it, it is just G and O. I definitely don't need to hold on to all of these. We'll figure out what to do about that later, though. I did upgrade and clean out my storage well before Goldfest, so it's not like I'm really in a rush to do that. I think I cleaned down my Grimers already, otherwise I showcased that. Feral Seeds, I probably cleaned out some, but looks like I still held on to at least 6 of them. And I'm not going to go over legendaries because I didn't really raid too hard even when I had the group 2. So maybe like only probably did like 5 to 6 legendary raids in general for day 2. Togekiss is another one I could check. Except I think I already started to transfer Togekiss. So, yeah, I had a lot more than this. Gonna just have to take my word on that. Anything else worth sharing? Oh yes, Stunfisk were showing up during the battle hour. I don't think they showed up too much on day 2, but looks like I at least held on to 7 of those Stunfisks. And I think I showcased how many Gibbles I got already, so I think that's all that's really worth show and telling. Overall, I think I enjoy myself with Goldfest. There's little minor things that just like keep weeding my head of, did I really enjoy it? Like, did I try too hard? Did I get myself too stressed by outside factors? But the event itself was fruitful and enjoyable. It would have been nice to do it in person, of course, or even in a better time where I felt a bit more comfortable actually hanging out with other people for longer. But it is what it is. You know what would be the dream? To celebrate a Go Fest like this at Con Bravo, where, like, I'm gonna end off that fantasy here because I've been rambling on for so long as is. Thank you all for tuning in, for me basically just, like, nerding out over Go Fest. If you like what you heard, show support on whatever platform you're listening to, the likes on the YouTubes, the rating on the iTunes, and everything in between. I've been a little off the past couple of weeks just because I need to take time off for Go Fest, but I'm hoping to get back into, like, some sort of alternation between podcasts and gaming chills on Mondays. Maybe someday we'll get back to having battle commentaries on Tuesday as well. And I got YouTube videos going on for the rest of the week. I have a website where you can check out more details of what I do, including when I upload content, and the approximate schedule I currently have in store. But if you prefer to take in that sort of information on social media and don't mind a little bit of shenanigans in between, I also have a Twitter. All that should be in the show notes / description of this video. Until next time, take care.